Welcome back to Sweet Pea and Bam. I'm Sweet Pea, or Susie.
And I'm Bam.
Oh my. He's very excited to be back. Yes, welcome back. We had a little bit of break in between recording episodes. We had a lot of life events and things going on, but we are back and we're excited to be back, right?
We sure are. We celebrated a 3-year anniversary.
Yes.
Thank you, Jesus, for getting us
Amen.
This far.
Amen.
It's been a good ride so far, and hopefully many more years.
Yes, wonderful 3 years. It feels like it flew by. I feel like, I don't know, people always talk about like, oh, the honeymoon stage, it like ends so fast. But I feel like I'm still in it. I still feel like I look at Bam and I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm married to the most handsome man in the world. I can't believe it.
You can make it last as long as you want, right? You don't have to get, cold and, oh, I'm married, marriage is so terrible. And you can, especially if you make it a friendship, I think that helps.
Yeah, I feel like we keep things fun. We went to the beach for our 3rd year anniversary, and that was very fun. We had an amazing time. The Inn with a Drift at Long Beach, Washington. I'm recommending it.
Sponsor us.
It was very, very lovely. So anyways. What are we talking about today?
As you may or may not know, I am originally from the UK, and Susie is, from America. So for us to be living in the same place, we had to go through some immigration steps. Mm-hmm. The last episode we did was about how we met, kind of the romance, the first love, the first, all of those early, how we got together and the romance side of it. But today we're going to kind of give you what it took for us to be in the same place from the immigration side. Mm-hmm. And we had some requests for this before. Another couple were working on getting married and had to go through immigration. They were like, hey, do an episode on immigration. And we were like, yeah, we will. And
they're married now.
They're already married. They didn't need us after all.
We took too long.
But I'm sure other people are considering it. So we're talking specifically from the UK to America. That was our situation. Mm-hmm. But it's probably applicable to other situations as well, things to consider.
Yeah, for sure. I think a very popular question that we get, or I get at least, is how did you make that decision have we talked about this before? I don't know if we have. How did you make the decision to where to move? Because obviously we had to pick one, America, UK. I suppose we could have picked a totally different country. I think we actually did talk about moving to a completely different place. But yeah, in your opinion, how do we make that decision?
It was a very difficult decision.
Yeah.
I'm not sure we have spoken about it before, but I kind of had a plan of attack with my career in the UK. I had actually negotiated a contract with my employer to help me pursue my accounting qualifications, and that would have locked me into a 2-year contract or however long. So that was kind of my dream since I graduated college or university, to have that qualification. So it was very difficult for me to imagine having to kind of do a little bit of a reset or do something slightly different. I think it was a lot of prayer, and I think a lot of it was, at least on my end of things, what does it mean to be a godly husband or to lead as a husband? And I think for me it was, I would rather me be taken away from my family than Susie be taken away from hers. I think that's what it kind of came down to, at least in the logical part of it. But then there was a lot of prayer as well, because there was a big part of me that was like very resistant to leaving the UK as well, I think.
Yeah. It looks a little different in my head, and how it went in my head was, we did talk about it. We prayed about it a lot. I feel like that needs to be the foundation, is praying about this decision very seriously, because no matter how logical a decision seems, if God is not in it, then it's not going to be good. And so obviously we prayed about it a lot. Going to the logical part of things, on my end, I had just become a nurse, and nurses in America do make a fairly good amount of money. And it obviously took a while, a lot of hard work and time and money to get to the point of being a nurse, a registered nurse. And so I was kind of in that place too, like, well, I don't know, what about my career? So we were kind of both in the same place, like, what about me? Um, from my memory, what in the logical sense of it, what it came down to was and I think we both want to have children, and have raised a family, and I don't really want to be the type of mom that just always sends my kids to nursery or daycare and just doesn't ever see them because we're both working so much. And in the UK, it's very hard to have a one income household and do that. And
especially where I grew up in London.
right. And in America, it's much more feasible to at least be like part-time or per diem or something, and still be able to be there for the most part for your kids. Financially, it's more feasible. So that was kind of the thing that I remember being like kind of a big thing was, yes, I do make more money as a nurse in the US versus the UK, but what is like the future of our family going to look like, and what are our goals, and what do we want? And I think both of us wanted a family, with children. And so we were like, well, it's a little bit easier to do that in America in terms of financially. But really, yeah, I feel like a lot of it was prayer, because no matter how logical that sounds, I feel like that, again, you have to have God go into it and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I think it was one of those testing periods for me, I think, to really know that this relationship was from God, because it did really test my faith a lot, because like I felt, God, I thought you wanted me to pursue my career and to get qualified, and you do it in this direction. But if I do take this path, I won't even be able to work for X amount of time, and I'm going to have to try and find a job, and we might not even be in this industry. It just depends on what doors open. So
yeah, no matter what decision is made, it's always going to be hard, unless you're one person has absolutely no ties to where they're living. And it's still, I felt very guilty, even though it was like we did consider both options. It wasn't like it was just like, oh, my way or the highway. I did feel a sense of guilt because, and I'm sure you would have felt the same, if it had been the opposite, because it's just the name of the game is that you're going to feel a little bit guilty that you're the one not taking them away from their family, but it feels that way. And if you just focus on that part, it can feel really negative and down. But then we look at it now as we live, I guess, relatively close compared to how close we live to your family, to my family. But at the same time, we live far enough away that they don't visit super often. And so like we kind of have built our own family. Like it hasn't been like, oh, you're coming into our family and you're just joining the rest of us. It's like we've kind of been like, oh, or we're doing our own thing, which I think is important.
We're pretty independent, pretty independent as our own family, which is, I think, is early in your marriage is good to kind of, build an identity, build your kind of family culture.
Yeah. So I think that's important, even though you moved here, and I am very close with my family, that we, I guess, God has his wise plan that he had, and he had me buy a house that was an hour away from family. And so, yeah, we see them, but it's not like they're at our house every day and interjecting their own opinion in all of our life decisions or something, So it was a hard decision for sure, and it's something that you need to take with a lot of thought and prayer if you are making this decision.
Indeed. So we made that decision, and the next step was, which path are we going to take to get married and get into the same country? So I believe, and Susie, you can correct me, but I believe those two major paths. There was either go through the spousal visa route, which would mean we would get married and then apply for the green card straight after we got married, but with the spousal method, you're not able to enter the country straight away. But then the other path is the fiancé visa, where it gives you the right to enter America for 90 days, like 90-day fiancé, get married, and reside in the States until you get your green card.
Yeah, I think the big difference and deciding factor for us was, and we'll talk about how it actually went, but this was pre-COVID 2019, right? 2019, yes. I can't believe it, losing track of the years, but pre-COVID, when you would apply for a fiancé visa, usually, unless you're coming from a country where it is very difficult to immigrate from just because of political tensions and things. Ironically, one of the hardest countries that I've heard when I was doing my research and stuff is Nigeria.
Sure.
Like directly from Nigeria, because of you have your UK citizenship, even though you're Nigerian, it made it a little bit easier. So for the fiancé visa, it is faster. In this pre-COVID time, it was faster. My friend had done it with, she got married to a guy in Romania, and I think within like 6 months, he was here, never married,
Okay.
of applying. And the marriage visa, I'd heard, is a lot longer process. I'm not really 100% sure why that is. So anyways, we decided that, part of it was the faster, part of it was we didn't really want to get married and then be separated. Like, that just seemed like terrible.
Yeah, I think you get married and then you apply for the visa. I think maybe that's how it goes.
Yeah, so the route we went was fiancé visa, which there's the number, was it K1?
K1.
Yeah, K1 something. You show that you're engaged and your love story, blah, 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 and you get a visa, and then you get to come to America. You have 90 days to get married, and then you send proof that you got married, and then you can get your visa, your green card, your work permit, all those things. With the marriage visa, you have to prove to them that you actually got married, and I'm not 100% sure because we didn't go that route, but that's my understanding is that, yeah, and I'm not sure why it takes longer, because you'd think that the marriage visa would be faster, but whatever. So, yeah, we went the fiancé route, thinking that it would only take like 6 months. I filed all the paperwork, which is a lot of paperwork. It's a huge stack, maybe like, I'm not joking, like a couple inches thick of paper. And I sent it like in December, like end of December, because I was going to visit you in London in January, and I wanted to be sent and done because I was thinking, this is going to be fast, like get it in as soon as I can so that we can get it done. So I filed it December 2019. I visited you January 2020, stayed there for like 3 weeks in London, came back and proceeded as if we were going to get married in 6 months. I bought my wedding dress. I think we made a reservation on a venue even. Yeah, everything. And then of course, March 2020, I got my wedding dress the day that they said there was going to be a 2-week lockdown. In quotes.
Yeah.
I was literally picking up my wedding dress after having it tailored and everything. And it was talking with the tailor about how, yeah, did you hear we're going to have like a 2-week. Oh my goodness. Looking back, my sisters, we literally bought COVID snacks, thinking this is going to be like a giant sleepover for 2 weeks. And then it's going to be over or whatever. Yeah, no. That was probably one of the worst things that ever happened. COVID. And the reason being is because it delayed everything.
Yeah, we had a lot of plans. We had a plan to do like a UK celebration, so I could kind of have like a send-off with my family and friends in the UK, and then kind of have like the part 2 in the States.
Yeah.
But because of COVID, we had to change, all of our plans, and it was tough. So yeah, what should have taken 6 months stretched to
like 2 years, 2.5 years.
Wow.
2 years.
That's crazy.
I know. It's crazy. We had the thing in the UK. We were going to have an engagement party, like a big thing. We had a coordinator. We had plane tickets. We had it's clothes made. I'm pretty sure your dad got clothes made in Nigeria for us. And yeah, we had to cancel out everything. And I was still very hopeful that it was going to be short. And I was thinking, yeah, we're going to get married soon. We're going to get married soon. Yeah. And it took 2 years. We didn't get married till we got engaged October 2019. And we got
Okay.
married November 2021.
So yeah, that's a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A very long time. And yeah, it was very much a struggle. So anyways, it's not fun to look back on it. I was just thinking about it as I was driving back. I was like, wow, like man, I went through a lot of depression during that time.
Yeah, there was a whole. I don't know. We're not going to share everything here, but yeah, there was definitely a lot of mental ups and downs in that journey, and feeling like we were close, and that it was going to change, things were going to move, and then kind of then the news would be, oh no, we were told they lost our thing at one point,
Oh
or
my
they couldn't
goodness!
find it.
Yes. Yeah. So basically, what happened was in the United States, because of COVID, shut down everything that was non-essential, right? And apparently, they shut down the embassies thinking that was not essential. So they shut down embassies everywhere. So the London embassy, everything was shut down. So they were not processing anything. So our paperwork was there. We had gotten notice that it had been received, but then they shut everything down. So nothing was being processed. All our paperwork was just piling up. Imagine all these people are continuing to apply, I'm sure, over all this time. And yet their paperwork is just piling up and piling up and piling up. So I think we had talked about maybe getting legal help early on, but I was like, I don't know. I didn't really have that much money at that point because I was finishing my bachelor's in nursing and all this stuff. And so we were like, well, I don't think it's going to take that long for it to reopen, blah, blah, blah. So we're like, let's just wait it out and see. So a year goes by, and about a year later, I was like, this is taking forever. And I had seen a video. I think we were watching a YouTube channel that was keeping updates of like all the immigration stuff. And there was a guy it was a lawyer who was doing some of these videos. And he said that he had a free Zoom meeting thing where you can learn more. So anyways, I watched the Zoom meeting. That's why I found out that Nigeria is one of the hardest places to immigrate from, which I was like, oh, I didn't know that. And on there, he was like, we have a service that we offer where you can hire one of our lawyers essentially to file a request to an expedition request or expedite expedition to a request to expedite. So there's an email you can email at the government. It's literally anybody can email this email. You can email it from your neon pink horse at gmail.com email. It doesn't matter. Anybody can email it. And it's to request your case to be expedited for whatever reason. The problem is that if you are not professional, they'll kind of just like kick you to the curb and ignore you because they have so many of these emails coming in. So what this lawyer said they would offer is they have this process where they very officially fill all this paperwork saying why your case should be expedited. And they said they were very successful in actually getting a lot of cases expedited through that process. Like they had different things you had to get, like evidence and show and so anyways, we hired the lawyer. We did all this process. We got all the evidence of saying like the hardship of not having the case go through, not having you here. And our angle kind of was the mental health part of it. Me being a nurse during the pandemic, which was stressful, I guess. In a way, I feel like I got a little bit scot-free from the stress because I was kind of in a private organization, but that's besides the point. That's the side. It was stressful, for sure. I just didn't know how stressful because I was a brand new nurse. So I was like, everything's stressful in nursing. Anyways, and then I didn't have my person that I loved most. I mean, I love my family, and they were very much supporting of me. But like, you're my favorite person in the world, and I didn't have
you weren't living at home at this time, were you? I'm trying to remember. I mean, part of
That
it
is
was
true.
you think you were living alone.
That was
That was
true.
a big part of it as well. I think.
I was living part at home, part not, because I had bought that. I think I had bought the house at that point, and I had started a job in the operating room, which is a very high stress place, and I had to stay here whenever I was on call, which was relatively often. And so yeah, I was alone quite a bit. And so, anyways, we went the angle of evidence of like my support person is not here, and it's very hard mentally, blah blah blah. So we filed all this paperwork, and the lawyer said that, oh, it shouldn't take too long. Usually it goes through pretty quickly, like 6 weeks or something. Well, like 9 months went by or something. Like a really long time. And finally I was fed up. I was like, what is happening? And the lawyer, or I think it was the paralegal, and we got on a call with one of the consulate, embassy, whatever it was that organized the place that they had our paperwork at that point, because there's a lot of different checkpoints in which it goes. And I get on the phone call with this worker, and they're like, we have nothing on record of this. Yeah, nothing's been filed. And the paralegal was like furious. She's like, this is literally my entire job. This is all I do, is filing these types of cases. I know you guys got that paperwork because I have the records of it, and you better find it. And I'm going to file it again just so that to make sure you better find it, like you have it, and you better be processing it like rapidly. And she was like very mad, and I was like, oh, okay. I didn't know what was going on. I'm just like here for the ride. So anyways, so she's talking to me saying, okay, I'll take care of blah, blah. And I'm going through ups and downs of like faith at this point. I think we both were, where it's like, oh, he's going to come. It's going to be soon. And then being like, he's never coming. I'm going to be alone for the rest of my life, separated from the person that I love the most. I'm so depressed. I had a lot of despair, for sure. Very well acquainted with despair. And it was, I remember the very last day of camp meeting, the very last service of camp meeting, which is a convention at our church. And one of the sermon was about, I think, faith, and also like trusting God that he can do what he said he'll do. And I remember praying and being like, forgive me, God, I like have doubted you so much. Like I felt like over all this time, like I did feel like God had said that he would bring you, and that there was promises that he would bring you, and that everything would work out and all these things. And I was like, God, forgive me for doubting, forgive me for not walking in faith. And I remember that night, I was leaving, I was going in the parking lot with my sister, Emily. And I said, Emily, let's start planning the wedding, because I think it's going to happen soon. Let's just start getting things ready. And I was just like so full of faith. Well, like a week later, I think it was, I was at work and I got this email from the thing saying, your visa application has been approved, and blah blah, all this stuff. And I literally got up in the middle of the break room and started like shouting like, ah. And my coworkers knew what I was going through at this point. They're like, wow. And then that's when you started getting contacted and stuff at this point. Because at this point, from this point, it was a lot of me like filling out all this stuff. And then finally it was approved. And so they were reaching out to you. The embassies, okay, I skipped a part. The U.S. government got sued by a lot of people waiting for their visas, their spousal visas, fiancé visas, all these things. Got sued by these people saying, this is an essential service. This should be open. We are being separated from our family because you guys think that's not essential to be with our family, or what? Like, this is dumb. So they got sued and they won the case. And so the embassies were forced to reopen, as they should have been open the whole time. So anyways, but they had this big backlog. So that's when we got the lawyer to try and get our paperwork kind of pushed to the front and stuff. So the embassies were open, and then they contacted you at this point when it was approved.
Yeah, well, and so at this point, well, I just want to take it back a little bit. So this whole period when we're waiting, it was really hard. I think there was a lot of prayer. We prayed together. But what I should have done better is kind of spoken to people around me and kind of got more support, like from my friends and family. I just had it as a burden to myself, and I think people didn't really know what it was like or what it felt like just to be waiting and waiting and waiting. So yeah, I would say if you are going through a similar struggle, like you need to speak to somebody. You don't want to just have this all by yourself. You want to have some people you're confiding in, and you're kind of leaning on for help.
Yeah.
So like Susie said, so now our case has made it across the United States, and now the United States Department sent it to the U.S. Embassy in London. And now it's kind of a process of them, meeting me for an interview, which it was a pretty short, painless interview. Excuse me. And they needed to see some of my documents.
Yeah, and then you like a medical checkup,
and a medical
make sure
checkup.
that he's not like dying of Ebola or something, and is going to spread it to everyone in the U.S. or something. I don't know.
Well, a big part of the application is they don't want America to have to cover your health bills, or they make you sign like, if you have any problems, you will be responsible for covering it.
Yeah.
So I guess they may try to make sure you're healthy even before you enter, and and all that.
Yeah. I had to sign a financial agreement. Basically, Bam can't use any social services for like 10 years, which is a long time. Anyways, but yeah, I had to send them all my bank accounts details, stocks or investments that I had, all these things showing that I was above the poverty level, and so I would be able to support another person. And then if he ever were to use social services, then they could the state could sue us essentially, which is, so we're not doing that. But God has blessed us and we're okay.
Thank God. And sorry if you see me laughing, looking down. The dog has decided to make an appearance.
She's worming her way in here.
So that we had in that journey, there was a little hiccup in I brought my birth certificate, or what I thought was my right birth certificate to the appointment, but then I was told I was actually an amended version, or like a summarized version, and I needed the whole version.
Oh man,
So
that made me so anxious. I was like,
panicked a
man,
little
how
bit,
could you do that?
Where is it? We turned the whole house upside down. But I think we were able to get a copy
From the hospital or something?
The hospital, or maybe we just found it, and we were able to send that in super fast mail back to them, and that was fine. And
yeah,
we were back on track. And I think the next step was at that appointment at the embassy where I went to, they took my passport, and then they sent it back to me, and inside of the passport it has the K1 stamp, or
has the
visa in there.
It's like a sticker almost. You could probably show them not right now, but we could maybe show a picture.
So then with that visa, it gives you 6 months to enter the United States, and then once you enter the United States, it's 90 days to get married.
Yes, and this is the part that surprised me, and again, maybe we just didn't communicate enough of what we were going through. We were book your flight soon. I think we booked it 2 weeks from now, or 2 or 3 weeks after you got the visa. We're like, okay, you're flying here, we're gonna get married, it's good. We're cloud 9. And then we got a lot of flack for doing that, oh, but you have 6 months, why don't you wait 6 months, the whole, why don't you prepare more, blah blah blah. And so we did get some flack for maybe moving too fast, but I personally was not having it, because I was we've been waiting 2 years. We don't know if the U.S. is going to change their mind and close all the borders again, because at this point, I don't trust them whatsoever.
Well, to give more of the context, to come from the UK to the US in that time, because of COVID, you couldn't actually come directly from the UK to the US. You had to go to a third-party country that was allowing people into the United States directly. And ironically, Nigeria was one of the countries you could go directly from to the United States. So anybody who wanted to come to our wedding would have had to spend 2 weeks
in Nigeria,
one of those approved countries, and then come to the United States.
Yes.
And who has that kind of time, who has that kind of money? My parents were able to do it, but because of the circumstances, it meant most of my friends and family couldn't come to the wedding.
Yeah, and that was very unfortunate.
So I think that was kind of the pushback on why you guys doing it so quick. Maybe the COVID restrictions would be lifted and everybody be able to come, and so that was part of it.
Right. But for me, I was well, what if they get worse? And they say, because at this point they're if you have a valid visa, you can enter from the UK, but to visit you can't. And I was what if they change that? What if they say no? And I was so scared that the thing that I've been praying for and hoping for and longing for so long would be taken away from me.
Yeah.
And maybe that was just me not trusting God. I don't know. It could be, for sure. But I was very nervous and I was very scared, and I was like, just get Bam over here as fast as you can. Let's get married, and I don't want to deal with immigration anymore. And it, if we could have foresight and see the future, yeah, we would have probably done it a little differently, because the COVID restrictions got lifted like right after our wedding, which is very frustrating. Extremely frustrating.
It was an unprecedented situation.
Yeah, we never would have
predicted that.
Exactly. So anyways, yeah. So Bam came here, we got married, we filed all the paperwork. It's, again, a lot of paperwork to say that yes, we did get married. And then Bam had to wait, and he was kind of a house husband, I guess, until he got his work visa, which was about 6 months later.
Yeah.
And then maybe like 2 months after that, you got your green card, which we just learned this like last month. We thought that was his permanent green card. Apparently it's a temporary green card.
Conditional.
Or conditional. And so about 2 years later, or 3 years after we got married, which, like right now, we just got a letter from the USCIS from saying that you need to show that you're still married to get your like permanent green card.
So it removes the conditional. Sorry, I have to really hold on the microphone there. It removes the conditions on your green card. So it's now like a permanent residence with no conditions.
Yeah. So then he's like good to go, and then in a couple years or so, I don't know, I'd have to look it up, he could get his citizenship if he took the test and all those things and stuff. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at.
That's the journey. It's a long journey, and if you guys want more information, we kind of did a really overhead summary. We didn't go into the nitty gritty, and we could, if you wanted, like more timelines, what forms we filed,
or how it was for Bam, like not being able to work, things like that. That's a whole nother journey.
That's a whole other journey.
Of faith.
Thank you, Alex and Annika, for taking me on as like a farmhand in those days, because I spent a lot of time there just helping out.
Lots of volunteering.
I'm the kind of person who doesn't really do well just sitting, doing nothing. But yeah. That was... Oh, well. Oh,
we actually have to get on a very important call. So we're going to love you and leave you. Thank you for joining us. And maybe if the call goes well, we'll let you know in the future what it's about. Okay, bye.